It is official now that for the first time in 40 years, the Parliament of Ghana has rejected a budget that was brought to it by the president of the land. The first time, it was under the presidency of Hila Liman. Today, it's under the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I'm quoting the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, and the official papers of Parliament which have captured that budget as rejected. On Face to Face today, we'll be having a conversation with the Chief Whip of the minority side to explain to us, first of all, why the rejection, and two, why they did not show up in Parliament on Tuesday. My name is Umaru Sanda. You're welcome to Face to Face. So the Minister for Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, presented the President's budget for 2022 and it has been rejected. My guest today was leading the charge for the rejection of that budget. Honorable Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak is MP for Aswasi and Minority Chief Whip. You're welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you.
How are you?
You can see it's so stressful. It's been a terrible 42 weeks now.
Yeah.
It's been a hectic.
We haven't seen you this active, as in terms of whipping your people since January 6, January 7. It is all deja vu for you again, isn't it? That you have a cause that you have to champion.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's always very stressful for the whips whether majority or minority, when your party takes or when your side takes an entrenched position. It's always very difficult because you keep crossing the T and dotting the I and making sure that nothing goes wrong on your side. So it's very stressful. It's not very easy.
I would like to ask you later in the program to explain to me who gives the orders for members of parliament to leave the chamber. So if the minority wants to walk out, is it the minority leader, is it the whip or a backbencher? And if the majority wants to do the same, who gives the orders? I'll ask you later so you explain. And you know why I'm asking you. But before that, let's get to why that happened. What is your problem with the Akufo-Addo budget as presented by Ken Ofori-Atta?
I mean, let's admit, when the budget was read, it was very clear that this was a budget that majority. I haven't personally done any survey, but I've heard a lot of your stations. You pick aspects of the budgets and try to do a poll, and you could see that a lot of Ghanaians are not happy about this budget. For us, in the minority group, we have monitored and noticed that there were some key things, that we believe, if allowed to go, was going to create a lot of problems for the ordinary person. On top of them is the e-levy. Can you imagine remittance going to be charged? You and I know a lot of guys abroad are those who are supporting families home. Schooling, healthcare, and a lot of things. So if you are going to put tax on this, the implication. And I'm yet to see any country in the world that does really tax remittance. Bank transfer. We are struggling hard to move into a cashless society, where with the touch of a button you can easily move resources here and there. I can't remember the last time I was in the banking hall because of online banking and the other electronic transactions. Now, if you're not careful, we are going to go back into cashless society. And you see, I'm not a tax expert, but one of the major things that you notice is that people will tell you that you don't tax capital. You don't tax capital.
Which is what people use as a basis for their investments and business.
You don't tax it. So now, Sanda, I want to transfer my capital to buy something from you, and I have to pay tax on that. We normally pay tax on profit and then goods and service. Now, I want to transfer school fees to my child. I have to pay tax on it. So we thought that the e-transaction, and the Momo is even worse. You have seen how Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, many of these countries try to tax it and the consequences of it. It basically just moves people from an attempt to be cashless into the cash. And remember, most of these Momo are now being used as a savings for people. Instead of them keeping the money under their bed and its attendant challenges, people use the Memo account for their savings. Mm-hmm. And now you want to be taxing it. Others, it's their capital. Because, for example, the merchants, the person has a big shop, because of thievery and other things, they say, no, do me Momo. Then in the evening, the person will move it from his or her merchant account into their bank account. Now you want to tax it. What people will simply do is to avoid this being taxed and then simply go back to cash society. And we thought that this was a really terrible one.
So it seems the e-levy is the biggest of your headache.
It's the biggest of the headache.
But You have been in government before.
Yeah.
You know that a main source of getting revenue to run the country is taxation. Even though this government had promised from production to taxation production, there's evidence that they've reversed. But taxation is critical. We always rely on that.
Nobody disputes
Why are you
that.
stopping this particular
Nobody
tax?
disputes that. I mean, check through the budget. Listen, I mean, corporate tax is still there. Income tax is still there. We are not against taxation. All we are saying is that what you are taxing is the problem. And the attendant consequences of it is the challenge there, because we believe that it's retrogressive if you have to be charging the mobile money. And worst of it, the rates. You want to start something, and then you just are going for the kill. The telcos themselves, who are operating and running this, you know they charge 1%. Mm-hmm. And after 1,000, MTN that I know very well, after 1,000, they cap it. Mm-hmm. You just come with the first cap, you want to scoop more than even those who have the system. And we thought that this is a terrible one. And we sent notice. You will know that when AKE came to the floor, the agreement was that they were going to negotiate. We gave them a ceiling. Don't negotiate beyond 1.1 billion. Now you go to the budget, 829 paragraph, and it's as though we have approved it. So we have a challenge with that.
They argue that you taxed as basic things as condoms and cutlasses, and it's something they keep throwing at you. And if you recall the majority leader's rounding up argument on the debate, he listed all of these things and said that when you pose a chroma, this is not the first time that this is happening. Have you
seen the Fees and Charges Act?
No.
Maybe try and get the Fees and Charges Act and see what are in it. Virtually everything that was on it.
They have the absurd list that
when you have the Fees and Charges Act, because it's bulky, sometimes you don't pay attention to the very final details, because it counts like in this budget, that's saying that, fees and charges, they'll bring it and let it go up by 15%. So when it comes, most of the time, you may pay attention to one or two things. You may not be paying attention to all the nitty-gritties and the final line, because it's a very bulky item. I mean, several thousands of items. From hospital to scan to toll to what have you. So it's so bulky. I really wish when it comes, you look at some of the items that are in them.
Yeah, but they don't have that.
They sound funny.
Really?
I get it. But because they are bulky, sometimes you don't even look at the very final details. But you see, I keep saying something. Nobody on our side is against taxation. It is what you are taxing. And how that taxing, the tax that you are introducing, could destabilize the very poor and vulnerable in our society. And that is our worry. And we are saying that if you want to introduce this, please wait. Come with a bill. Because you heard some contradiction between even some of the ministers and the deputies. Come with a bill that will let us truly know the content of the bill, the limitations, what you are really truly for. Because everything that we are not saying is like speculations. So withdraw, come with a bill, let's look at the bill, do broad consultation, let people appreciate what it is, what it can do, what it cannot do, the benefits, then you can bring it. You remember VAT, value added tax, when it first came. I mean, this current president led the demonstration for Kumi Preko, where people lost their life. Today, when they came, they did not only scrap what he demonstrated and people lost their life, but in fact, the actual you see on the surface, it says 17.5. But when you go, the nominal, when you look at it on the face value, you think that it's 17.5. But when you look at the way they broke the NHIS and then the GET fund, when you put all together, it's about 19.5. So we are saying that starts slowly. Let us all appreciate. Let other views be heard on it.
Consultations.
Let's learn from those who have tried to introduce tax mobile money, and it failed. What lessons can we learn from them? Then we can, as a group or as a parliament, come and look at it and see the possibility of it. No, you want it and you want it now because you think that it can give you 7 billion. And you think that there's a gap. And I said, if you look at the budget, domestic revenue, they are looking at about 99 billion. They are talking about expenditure, about 137 billion. A little with 37 billion gap. So if, with the greatest of respect, another 7 billion is going to come, let it come. Let us all look at how do we close the gap. One, suggestion that we're giving, exemptions, tax exemption, waivers. Every night it has become like a business for them. Even private
every
people.
Contract.
Not only contract, not only government contract, private individual, under this 1D, 1F. Individuals are just coming, they have items they have to clear at the port. They just come and label the 1D, 1F, and then they waive the tax. And by our own estimates from the Committee on Finance in Parliament, we noticed that if we decide to change the exemption regime, which they brought a bill, but they are not interested in fast-tracking it, what it's going to do is that it is going to move it from just the exemption to tax credit. So you finish, and then when you have to pay your tax, then those things are taken out, because that one will know the actual. Because what we've noticed is that some people come with equipment, tell you that, oh, it's because of this road construction, and before you realize, in the mining sector.
So they deceive the House.
So
do you not have a way of tracking that?
There's a lot of abuse, and because of the nature of our parliament. I mean, let's admit, you have a parliament that is not really well staffed. The committees are not really well staffed. You go to a committee like Committee on Finance, and you have just a clerk, an assistant, a secretary, and a research assistant. 4 of them. Every day there's a lot of things there. There's no much that they can do to even do the tracking.
Unless you have like a PIAC, which can go out and do these field work.
You can also outsource it to private companies
to
do so for you. But the money.
Or the Auditor General.
I get it. So these are the challenges that these committees have.
You mentioned the levies at the port. So you have a difficulty with the e-levy. You also have a difficulty with the benchmark values that they are scrapping. Yeah. Explain that to us.
Because, I mean, the benchmark value, we agree. If there are products that is being produced in Ghana, say like there's a lot of rice production, and you are monitoring the rice production, and you think that we are almost self-sufficient, why will you be giving people a holiday to import rice? But if you say you are removing everything, without segregating...
Is that not what they're doing? They have a list of items that they are coming up.
But let's see, you heard most of the importers are screaming. So we are saying that take your time. Let's interrogate the list that you have. Because some of the items, people believe that it is going to be retrogressive. Because when you do that, it is going to make the cost of those items very expensive. When in actual sense, it's not being produced in this country. Or those that are the production in our country is not sufficient to meet the demand.
But they make the argument that they are pushing for an industrialization of Ghana, and if you are industrializing and also allowing people to import,
and that's what we are saying. You need to check how much you are able to produce yourself. So, for example, if you are producing, say, iron rods, and the demand in your country is, say, 1 million metric tons a year, but the production in your country can only produce 20 or 200. What happens to 800? By putting this additional tax on it, you are indirectly going to make the cost of iron rods go very high. But let's say if it is maize, and then the production in your country is 1 million metric tons, and you feed, say, maybe even 900, any attempt to allow people to import maize into your country is going to destroy the local production. That one will be understandable.
But have you done this analysis with them?
That is exactly what we are asking them to do together. Let's do it.
So it's not like you have facts to show that what they are saying is not true. You're just holding to ransom?
No, because, I mean, you heard the importers. You heard the associations. Mm-hmm.
They are pushing a selfish agenda.
So we are saying that why not let us engage them. Let them bring their facts against your facts that you claim you also have. Then we compare it as a parliament.
So you're not asking for it to be...
Not necessarily, but we are saying that let's look at the specifics and see with the specifics which ones will be necessary and which ones will not be necessary. That's what we are talking about there. Okay. And then Ejapa.
Okay, yes. So talk
and then
about
So
you have the benchmark values. Now Ejapa, talk to us. What's your difficulty with Ejapa?
I mean, you and I, what cry have we not heard in this country about Ejapa? Look, you've mortgaged Get Fund resources to the extent that if you are not careful in the next 4, 5, 6 years, Get Fund, if it's not collapsed, then maybe because we'll find some additional revenue stream.
Too much debt on it.
So much mortgaging. I mean, road fund. When we did all this, how much have we benefited from them? Now you're talking about mortgaging our natural resources, mineral resources. We think that this is a no-go area. We are arguing that this is a no-go area. Because we are saying it's a no-go area, you started to withdraw it. Now you are trying to use the budget to smuggle it in. And that's our worry.
Is it not clearer than it was in the first one? Because the president was clear, or the government was clear, that it was withdrawing that and it was going to come back with some further negotiations. Did
After
that not
consultation,
happen?
who and who have they consulted?
There was no consultation.
We've not seen any document as that. And then they are introducing a budget. And we said, no, if you want to introduce it properly. Don't sneak. Because you see, the attempt is to put so many things in the same basket. There are 10 things in the basket. 7, you are okay with 7. But you are not okay with 3. But the only option you have is either to reject the whole thing because of the 3. So it was a trick they were trying to trick us, to put it in a basket of other things that are good. So now you are faced with a difficulty of saying that, majority of the things are good, but because of this one thing, I want to reject it. And then people say, why are you rejecting the whole thing?
So you have the e-levy, you have the benchmark values, you have EJAPA.
We have EJAPA, we have AKE.
AKE, explain the AKE
Because
part.
you see, AKE came to the house, and we said that they should go and negotiate, like I said earlier. And we gave them even a ceiling, 1.1 billion. We did not approve it. Now,
so this is the AKE GMPC deal?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Now, they capture it in the budget as though it's an approved thing they are not going to implement. We said, no, that's not what happened. So capture exactly what Parliament authorized you to go and do. But don't put it in the budget as though it's an approved thing. Because if you then pass the budget, what it will mean is that
you have indirectly
approve it. And the instruction for them to come back after negotiation may not necessarily happen. So take it off. And then the tidal waves.
Keta. And Keta
because
South.
We are saying that if you can just get up and go and give Sierra Leone disaster $1 million, and your backyard, something happens like magnitude of this, classroom, people's building, and in the whole budget, you don't even make any provision for it.
But
it's like you are neglecting your
Do you have to always capture something like the tidal wave issue in a budget before you can make provision for it?
Yes, without it you cannot.
You cannot.
Yeah, if you don't make a provision for it.
And the other government expenditure that can be directed.
No.
So, for instance, the Works and Housing Ministry, can they say that out of our budget, this is what we're going to do?
No, because their budget itself, the details is supposed to be there when they come with their estimates.
Okay.
And you'll be comparing what they have to the main budget. You know, there are tables.
Is that what you call the appropriation?
The appropriation is the tail end.
Okay.
That one is the expenditure. That shows the final expenditure sheet. But you see, when the main budget comes, if you look at the appendices, the tables, you can see each ministry, the capital expenditure, what they are going to do. It's in the main budget.
So you've checked and there's no tidal wave issue?
So when the estimate comes, you compare it with that before you approve the estimate.
Okay.
So if it is not captured in the main policy, you cannot find resources to do it. So that was why they came, we heard the minister on the floor. That was a surprise because he thought that this is a major thing that he said it should be captured. He doesn't know why it was not captured. So, if it is an oversight, we are saying capture it.
Put it in there.
And the inconsistency and the credibility of the budget. It has a lot of inconsistency in terms of reporting. You see, when you owe contractors so much money and you've not paid them, and yet you don't want to show it in the budget. Meanwhile, you can write to the IMF and tell them, these are truly your numbers. So you see they and IMF are struggling about their numbers and reconciliations. So we think that let us do the right thing. I know people say, why now? Now because the opportunity is better than before. I mean, when they were 169.
You had no choice, really.
I mean, you can make the greatest of noise.
The minority can have its say and the majority has its way.
But now it's a hung parliament.
Is that why
they don't want to hear that. And the rhythm has changed. The dance has changed. Because we believe that in preparing the budget, they needed to even engage Parliament, not only to come and present the budget.
It's not your budget. It's the president's budget. Why do they have to?
But we have to approve it.
Yeah, but he is bringing it to you that this is what I want to do. Yes. Why does he have to come and ask your permission?
Are you the one who do the cooking? Is it not your wife who does the cooking?
Yes.
And then, but when she comes to buy and say, what are you going to buy with it? You want to get some minimal information about what is going to go into it.
So you should be informed.
You not just be doling the money because your wife or your child is asking for them. You want to find out what are you using it for. We approved expenditure, and you don't just come with the greatest of respect, I mean, a bird that you've plucked all the feathers. Then they come and ask us, which bird is this?
You can't identify.
We want to be part of catching the bird and then plugging off its feathers, so that we all know that we are dealing with it.
Why didn't you do this in 2021, as in the budget for this year?
The first budget, yes.
You had the numbers, then your numbers have been reduced or increased. It's the same
you are
number.
doing it now.
In fact, you were even angrier that time because you were in the Supreme Court challenging the election. And yet you made that budget pass. You made the nominees of the president pass. But you're holding this budget. Why now and not yesterday?
I mean, remember during the budget, we voted for the policy and we lost it narrowly. Remember, we were doing vetting. That budget was supposed to last in March because we had up to March. And you know, time was really of great essence because we had just come from election and the time was very close. Even with that, we raised a lot of objection and we voted, but we lost. I mean, believe me, if on Friday they are 138 full house, maybe we will not be talking what we are saying now. We will only be talking about, the policy has passed, but what is going to happen next? So that we will say that, fine, the policy has passed, but we are going to lay ambush on all the subsequent issues that is related to the e-levy. I get it. But this time, God being so good on our side, for whatever reason, they slept on their responsibility and they couldn't marshal all their numbers, whilst we were able to. And then they had to run away and leave their own budget.
This is Face to Face on City TV. My guest is Alhaji Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak. He's the Minority Chief Whip and MP for Aswasi. He's talking about the budget that was abandoned by the NPP on Friday, which they subsequently rejected. Which budget is still a controversial issue. Is it an abandoned budget? Is it a rejected budget? Was there an inconstitutionality? That is what we are told will be cured on Tuesday. Unfortunately or fortunately, that curing, we are not sure how it's going to be like because the NDC side has walked out. When we come back, I'll ask him, why did they walk out or not even walk out? They boycotted today's sitting, that's Tuesday's sitting. Why and what the way forward is. Don't worry. You're welcome back to Face on City TV. My name is Umaru Sanda. My guest is Honorable Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak. On Tuesday is the first sitting day of the week for you in Parliament. You had finished your business on Friday around 8 p.m. and you went home. We expected that the MPs, as we have elected you to do, would be back to the House on Tuesday. The House started sitting after 3:30 p.m. on Tuesday, that is today. We noticed the MPP MPs are seated. Joe Osewusu is presiding. Your side is empty. Why?
Well, I mean, you know, over the weekend, everybody was saying that, oh, let cool heads prevail. I mean, try to meet and find common ground. I mean, the budget has been rejected, but I mean, it's not been rejected. All the noise and all the nuances, everybody trying to show they are right or what happened is wrong. So yesterday, Monday, we were there around 2 p.m. I mean, they sent a message that, they were going to engage. So we put up our team and we were waiting. We waited till around 6:30. Then they came and said, they wanted the meeting to start at around 8. And I said, no, it's late. Because you start
on Monday
like
night.
This, yeah, you don't know when it's going to end. So we'd rather do it first thing Tuesday morning. So this morning we started. We tried to engage.
About what time did you start?
I think 8 a.m.
Okay.
To try and see whether we can.
So this was both sides?
Yes, we can build some consensus. Well, we went to the table. Obviously, like I told you, our worry is the e-levy. And we are very strong that the e-levy should be withdrawn and then later submitted. After we've all looked at the content of the bill, then we can come back with it. And then the others, like the Ejapa and all that. And let me say
so you wanted the e-levy withdrawn, not...
Yes,
okay.
Yes. But let me say that at the beginning of the negotiation, I even made the pronouncement that, look, let's have this understanding. Nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. So if you agree on something and later some other things you don't agree, it doesn't mean that, we've agreed on 50%, leaving 50%. No. Nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. So we have to put all our cards on the table. So we stated all this and then the procedure to deal with the budget since it's been rejected. So I must admit, it was going very well. Then the e-levy. They were showing how it was going to distort the financing and the challenges it's going to bring. So we, at a point in time, we have to withdraw for further consultation with the broader party. And so, okay, well, if that's the case, let's agree on the principle of the e-levy, but the rate should start from 0.5.
So you're saying that we sympathize with you. You need the funds badly.
Yeah.
That is a source of revenue.
Yeah.
You said that it's the only thing you need to rely on. You cannot cancel it totally like we are asking.
We are asking.
So we will come down for you.
It became a stalemate for a very long period of time.
So you started behaving like how we behave in the market when you are buying brownie. so you give them a reduction.
Yeah, you said, okay, we'll be able to accommodate it if you could start at 0.5. And then take off
0.5 instead of 1.75.
And then take off remittances, take off bank charges. I mean, exempt merchants. The minimum 100 cedis, move it to 500. All those things we placed on.
So that was your initial proposal.
That was our initial proposal was no.
Okay, yes. So the second amended
level,
proposal,
yes, was
500 cedis
500
instead of 100
instead of 100, and then no remittance, no tax on the remittance.
So if someone sends money from abroad, no taxing.
And then the bank transfer, no, but the momo do 0.5.
Okay. Then
they say, oh, 0.5 is way below. So it went on and on and on and on. And they said the best they could do was 1.5, from 1.75. We thought that they hadn't moved.
So they will knock off 2.5.
They will knock off only 2.5. And we thought that that was not enough. It doesn't show, with the greatest respect, so much goodwill. I mean, looking at where we were coming, no, don't take it out completely because we cannot just support it.
That would be a huge leap for you.
So, and for us to move to 0.5, we thought that was, and I mean, like kind of taxes such as that, we thought that you could start and gradually see how it works and then be able to improve on it. They said the best they could do. In fact, we even moved up to 1. Up to 1.
So you moved from 0.5
up
now to 1%.
1%, because we got a mandate to not to exceed 1%. So we got even up to 1%. And
you put this before them?
Yes, and they wouldn't budge. They were still at 1.5. And then 100 cedis.
So still the 100 cedis?
Even the 100 cedis, we moved from 500 to 300.
So that if I'm sending up to 300 cedis,
you don't have to pay
they should
tax.
Deduct 1%. Okay, after 300 cedis, you
before
deduct 1%.
Yes.
They say no, it has to still be 100 cedis.
100 cedis and then 1.5.
1.5.
So it will be, for every 100 cedis, you pay 1 cedi 50 pesos. So there was a stalemate there. Then we came to the procedure. To our utmost shock, they want us to accept that the budget was not rejected.
Okay, I'll come back to the procedure bit.
Yeah.
Let's be a bit clearer on e-levy. So when you got to that stage, you would not move, they would not move.
Yes.
So there was a stalemate, and that's it.
Yes,
so nothing can happen on that.
And then all the other things that they were saying they could do, after AKE, it was...
Yes, so the AKE, they said what?
They could amend the test.
So they said they could do AKE.
They could do the AKE, they could, Ejapa, they can take it out.
They said they were willing and ready to.
They'll provide for engineering works to start on the tidal waves.
They said they could do that.
They could start.
So there will be vote money for it.
Parliament's budget was one of our concerns.
Okay.
I mean, they'll look at it, they'll make some additional provisions. So
they try to work on everything except the e-levy for you.
But remember, on us, on our chart for negotiation, the topmost was e-levy.
Yes.
In fact, in our case, if we had gotten the e-levy dropped, probably, and all the others not even considered, because on our chart that was the topmost. We could consider it,
including abandoning the Keta people. You were ready to abandon them.
It's not abandoning the Keta people. I'm only saying that in terms of priority, after the e-levy, we have the tidal waves, even before our budget. So we were more concerned about the score we have on our sheet on the e-levy was far outweighs almost every other thing. Because we thought that the e-levy affects the whole of the poor in the country, followed by the tidal waves that affects the poor in that small corridor of our country. Yeah. As important as it is, as compared to the e-levy that affects the generality of the poor. So that's how we prioritize it. Unfortunately, I mean, they were interested in, Ajapa, they will take it out. I mean, they will change the narrative. And rather were playing to the little things, in my view, as compared to the...
So they were majoring on the minors and leaving the major things for you. So they agreed on a lot of these things except the E-levy.
Yes, so we couldn't agree.
So you put that aside.
So remember I said, until everything is agreed, nothing is agreed.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a statement.
Okay.
So can we try another thing? Because we spend so much time on this. Can we try and see whether another thing can work so that we can come back to this?
Okay.
So we go to procedure.
Where procedure is, you're going to discuss what happened on Friday.
What happened on Friday?
Let's talk about what happened on Friday before you tell us what happened today.
Yeah.
On Friday, you had already agreed based on, we are told that there was a conclave meeting, the minister had made some concessions, and he was coming to communicate that to the House. At what point did you hear that there was going to be a prayer, and that prayer changed to what you heard on the
There was a meeting, admittedly, at the Speaker's hall, and he wanted to make... In fact, the first option was he wanted to meet our caucus. Then we said,
minister.
The minister. Mm-hmm. Then I said, I don't think that would be a good idea. Remember, we have spent... Parliament was supposed to start at 10, and we are talking about almost then 3 p.m. And we thought that, no, this was like a Saturday to buy more time. So we said, no. Can we meet extended leadership? We said, no. You met the leaders. This is our position. So, okay, I'll make some concessions on the floor. So, fine, we'll be happy to hear you.
Did he tell you which concessions he was going to make?
No. He just said that these are your concerns. We can see what we can do. I can make some concessions on the floor.
Okay.
So it's okay, let's go and we hear you. Then he comes to say that he's praying for time. Remember, the budget has been debated for 10 days. In fact, on one of the days, my Deputy Honorable Ahmed raised the issue of the absence of the minister and his deputies. Not being in the chamber.
Do you have a limited number of days by which you should be able to debate a budget and approve or reject?
You see, the best practice, IPU, says that try and use 12 weeks.
Okay.
If you can't get 12 weeks, please try and do that in 8 weeks. Now, with what we're doing, we're running against time because we had just about 6 weeks.
Okay.
So we're running against time. So you had 10 days to be able to do this, and you didn't do it. And now at the point of approval, you're not saying that we should give you time. We said, no, you can't get. But we noticed, in fact, it was not really that there was maybe not that they really wanted to make something, because they wanted one of our colleagues to be able to get to Ghana.
From their side or from your side? Yes,
from their side. They were just buying time. So they came there, we should give them time. And the Speaker said, I thought you said you were going to make some concessions. Now if you're asking for time, this is not the time to ask for time. Then he said that, well, I'm the servant of the House. I want the House to decide on this one. Then he put the question. And then we voted by voice. And he said that what he heard, the yes had it. That
the minister should not be heard.
The minister should not be given that time to re-engage.
So that's the consultation with the leaders that he requested for?
No, he wanted to engage the caucus.
Okay. Okay, only the NDC side?
Yes.
Okay.
And then that was denied. Because we weren't interested, because we thought that he was blocking the issue of consultation. He had 10 days, he didn't use it. And he was largely absent in Parliament. If he was interested, he would have sat through to listen to the comment, and during that time be engaging before we got to the budget approval. That's what would have get us, was somebody who was really serious about trying to engage. That's what the person would have done. So then they challenged the Speaker's voice vote, and said that they wanted a division. And please, I want to beg that those who are listening to us, Parliament has come to stay. The standards of orders of Parliament, I think they sell 5 CDs or something.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. People to try and read. Even members of Parliament, when they come, it's given to you. Many of them don't read. And that's where I said majority leader has, overstayed his welcome, because he has
Deputy majority leader?
No, I'm talking about the leader himself.
Okay.
I'm saying that he's gone rusty. He's now a spent layer, in my view.
That's
and
serious.
He has overstayed his welcome.
Parliament survives on experience.
Yes,
you always celebrate Bagbin for having been there for all these decades.
But if you are still active and sharp, But if you come retrogressive, because
that's
he advised,
that's the sense you
that's
got.
what I got, because he advised the deputy. I know, obviously, I mean, African Americans is good, but you know, he hasn't stayed in this house as long as he advised him to use division.
You're sure of that?
We were there. I mean, try and get a video. You could see him talking to him.
To deploy that tactic.
Because what he needed was 113 for head count, not 114 for division, because the rules are different. With the head count, people just get up and they count them. With the division, they have to clear the lobby. And all of us will move behind the stage where speaker sits.
And walk in.
And then walk in and you'll be counted. And then when you are done, the other side too moves in and then they got counted. So when you call for division, a speaker tried to help them. If you notice, he had to read the whole of this section. Maybe it could sense them to know that, oh, it is rather a head count that we wanted. They didn't get it because they were more emotional than being, with the greater respect in my view, than being tactical. So they opted for the division. And then I said, well, Mr. Speaker, if they've opted for division, and division is very clear, you have to clear the lobby. And the essence of clearing the lobby is to clear anybody who doesn't have a vote to be out of way. So that only those with vote will stay so that they can move in and be counted. And that was when I stood up and drew the attention of the speaker that we had ministers who were not MP. And because they didn't have a vote, when it comes to clearing, they have to be cleared too. And you opted for it. So if they say, oh, we wanted to humiliate the finance, they humiliated him.
But they argue that it is his budget you are debating or his budget you are voting
but we are
on.
Voting,
he should be there.
So he must vote?
Well, you can know that this is kind of rhetoric. You don't have to let him vote.
No, but you are going to move in and come out one after the other for you to be counted.
Yeah, but
it wasn't only him.
Yes.
There were other ministers. At least I saw the Minister for Transport too was there.
The idea was that all of you leave the chamber, go behind the speaker.
One side
yes.
will go into we have it's not really a division room aside. In many parliaments like the UK, it's a very big area where when you move, it's spacious. I get it. So when you offer it, one side will move in, and then as you come.
So someone stands at the door and counts?
Yeah, because they have to appoint 2 tellers.
Okay.
So from our side and their side, 2 to check that, to make sure that, I mean, if it's Muntaka, which is passing, it's truly Muntaka, not they call Muntaka and then Sanda try to walk through.
Okay.
So then they will count. Okay. So they opted for that.
The speaker said it was a laborious process, but he was willing to do it on Friday night.
All of that, he was reminding them. But I thought maybe they thought they could use that to buy time.
Which time? For what?
Because they were still waiting for a member to fly in.
Which member is this? Do you want to share?
I mean, there was my colleague Honorable Joseph. She wasn't there.
She was expected back in the country that night.
Yes.
But so they had 136.
137.
No, they had
136 plus the independent.
Yes, so they were waiting for the last person. So the idea was that she was coming home that Friday night.
They were hoping that they could continue to buy time. And they wanted an elaborate one that would take more time. Okay. Then, unfortunately, the front benches sat, and I like a back bencher with the greatest of respect. When I came to this house,
in 2005,
I cannot imagine that even after my first term, I was conversant left and right in the standing orders. I was still learning. Somebody who is just, how many months? 8 months, 9 months old in the house, probably having even read the standing orders, even up to 10 pages.
You're referring to the Mpraiso MP?
To come and be creating nuisance and let them out. Their whip system broke. Their leadership broke down. They were not in control. If you go and watch the videos, you notice when we left for the speaker's meeting with the finance minister, when we came, there was a charged mood on our side. Go check the video. Me and my deputies quickly moved in to try to make sure that there's order. Their leadership broke down. And then they followed him out.
Are you sure it was the Mpraiso MP who let them out? Or he just happened to be the one who was head, but there was a decision by the leadership that let's go out?
Let's go and watch the video. You will see that the way they were even going out was not coordinated. It wasn't that it's a decision.
How do you stage a walkout? Who decides it?
In Parliament, when things are going and stuff, the whip will notify the leader, probably. What do we do? In some instances, especially if you are in government, like they are in government, you call the office of the president, probably, the party hierarchy. These things happen, and we think that...
You have to clear with all of them.
No, you try to bounce it around to get people's views. So when the decision is taken by the leadership, then the whips will now map a strategy and say that, okay, when this happens, we are all working on. So you see that when it is well coordinated, you see unison.
Everybody gets up and goes.
Around a particular, for example, when one of the state of the nation that we're working out, if you notice.
Yeah.
So as a whip, agreed, map the strategy. So when he walks in and the national anthem is played, when they get to the last stanza, we will repeat it 3 times. After repeating 3 times, we walk out. So it will be in unison. That's when the thing is coordinated. But this one, you could just see that there was chaos.
So you think your opposite number, Anodompe, lost the house or lost his side?
I won't blame Anodompe.
Who do you blame? He is
the leader. No. Because it's the leader who... Look, I just told you.
So Osechi...
For example, anything that you see me, Muntaka, do on the minority side, I have to clear with the leader. Because if I don't clear with the leader and I do it, it will be tantamount to undermining him.
So even though
because I cannot just take a decision on my own and do something without him knowing. So sometimes he may not agree with me. I say, oh, look, this is the reason. Then we agree before I can implement it.
So even though it was a whip system failure, you think the ultimate back stops with the majority leader?
Because the whip will be looking at the leader.
For direction.
Stop it. And you have to stop it. If the leader becomes helpless, then the whip also looks even more helpless.
So they walked out, and then they said while they were away, you, supported by your speaker, engaged in an illegality or an unconstitutionality.
Well, did you see the vote and proceedings of today?
Yes, I did.
What's the total number of people who were on Friday?
274. But I have seen a part...
Why are you saying but?
Yes, because I'm giving you additional information on your vote and proceedings, where it talks about the number of persons who were present as of the time that they... I could read that for you.
The voting on the division.
Yes.
That was 137. That was the voting. The voting on the division. What they call for. That voting was the 137. And remember in Parliament, between one vote and the other, things change. And let me also say this. Parliament is governed by 3 things. The Constitution, our standing orders, and our practice. Check every parliament in the world. Probably with the exception of the US, because they have a different system. For them, every decision is recorded.
By your name?
By your name and constituency. So what they do is that the speaker will announce time for voting. And he'll say, we have 15 minutes to vote. So even if you're in the chamber, and after 15 minutes, you've not pressed the button on your seat, the seat that is yours, because everybody has a seat. So when I press, it will record as Aswansi, whether yes or no. I get it. So he will give, say, 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, even if I press, it will not record, because the voting time is over.
It's over.
In our case, in Parliament, our practice is that until a quorum is raised, quorum is assumed. It's assumed. So any decision that you take, until somebody raises the quorum,
it's assumed.
It is assumed.
Let me
the same time with the number to take decision. And you will see, I saw someone put a video of me and Professor Kwe.
Yes, there's a video of you, and he didn't mind Yusuf.
Why he was not minding me? Because he did not recognize me.
Whatever he said was not...
Was none of it. And they took decision on the amendment of the Legal Education Act. And it stayed. Because that day, we didn't have the number to take decision.
Let me refer to the vote and proceedings that you talked about. Yeah. So I mentioned already that at the beginning on the first page, it said that there were 274 members present. That's what it said. But then on the last page, it says the House counted as follows. Ayes.
No, before that one. Before to tell you what was the voting for.
Okay, so it says that adjournment. Okay, no, it's not about adjournment.
It's not about adjournment.
This is about the division. It's about the division that you were supposed to go and take. And it says when you voted...
After the division.
Yes, the ayes were nil. Noes were 137.
Yes.
The Honorable Speaker accordingly declared the vote on the prayer request lost. Okay.
Yes.
Is that not the 137 that we should be working with? Because that was the one that was in the case at the time. Even though it continues to say the House accordingly rejected the budget statement and economic policy of the government for the year ending 31st December 2022.
Because that one was voice.
So
that was voice.
When we use a voice, is this voice not for the 137 people who preceded just before that?
Who was there to raise that? You see,
where does it say that if it is not raised, it's assumed?
That is our practice.
Is it precedent or is it
stated in the order? I'm telling you that three things govern what we do: the Constitution, our standing orders, and our practice. And I'm saying that it's our practice that is what we've been doing. Unless somebody in there raises it.
And no one raised it that
Nobody
evening.
raised it.
But it was raised subsequently.
Who? Not in the chamber.
It was raised at the press conference.
No, but that's not the chamber. You have to raise it. And that's why I'm telling you that, did you see the amendment to the act when I was raising it and Professor Kwe was not minding me? Because even though I was in the chamber, but because I couldn't catch his eye, for me to officially state it, it stayed.
So you will not even be captured by the Hansard?
Yes, it will not. Because Speaker, I have to catch his eye before it becomes relevant. If I don't catch his eye,
can this be raised after? Can this be raised on Monday, on Tuesday, today, for instance?
You come to under Order 93(5). You come and challenge the Speaker's decision. It's conduct. And that one you have to come with a substantive motion. And you know, when you come with a substantive motion, you can just get defeated. Especially when that time, 169. The 169 will just rubbish you away. Yeah. And then you lose it. So sometimes there's no motivation to challenge his conduct. I get it. So that is how the House operates. You need 2/3. And you see, check the Constitution. 104 that they've been talking about. It talks about Parliament. It never mentioned the chamber. The 109 of our standing orders talks about the House. It's not talking about the chamber. And you see, when you go
what's the difference?
Let me tell you. So I'm bringing you. So when you go to our Order 114, it says, Order 113 all the way to 114, it tells you that even if you were not in the chamber and did not hear the question, you can vote. Do you know why? You can be in the office and then you notice that there's voting. You can run to the chamber and vote. That's why the standing order uses the House. And that's why the Constitution uses Parliament. But they could have used chamber. They didn't use chamber. So
you may be in your office in the house.
You may be in your, so once you've been recorded
or
as
you
present,
may be in the lobby.
I can tell you, you may be in the lobby. Once there's voting, you can go in and vote.
So you're
and
saying
nobody
that,
can stop
so you're
it.
saying that because in the
but
morning...
in the UK, let me just state it. But in the UK, when they start voting, they close the doors. You cannot go in or come out. Because they want only those in the chamber. But in ours, you don't close because people can still be coming in and out.
Even if they were coming from America, they can come in and come in.
Yes. And come and vote.
This is Face to Face on City TV. My name is Umaru Sanda, and my guest is the Minority Chief Whip. When we come back, the accusation against the Speaker, how are they going to deal with that, considering that he's from their own party? That's one. Two, they did not show up today. Is it to prevent the party or the government from moving forward with the budget? Because another critical issue they were discussing was whether the procedure was right or not, whether the majority side wanted to amend that. When we come back, I'll ask him how that will be cured. You're welcome back to Face on City TV. My guest is the Minority Chief Whip. So you had a disagreement, which is usual amongst your side, but you didn't show up in the chamber today.
Yes.
Why?
I mean, you see, when people want to play games, you show them that it is not about playing game. It's about carrying everybody, and we should remember we have a country. It's not about ego. On Friday, they lost the vote. The budget was rejected. And the only way to do is to reintroduce a new budget. And they claim that because we were 137, we didn't have the number to take decision. But like you saw, the voting proceedings today have shown that on Friday there were 274 members present. So we said, okay, let's play to the game. You're 138, one of you is chairing. Who doesn't have a vote? So you're left 137. We are going to show you that the Constitution and the standing orders is talking about the House. So we record absent. So the vote and proceeding tomorrow, we record only 137 of them. So let's see If you say 137, in our view, 274 cannot reject something. Let's see how the total present in the House of 137 can reinstate something.
So the plan for them is to go and correct, Katie Hammond said they were going to correct the unconstitutionality.
Because you see,
so you're not even going to be there to help them do that?
So we will not be there. So do it.
How long are you going to stay out for?
Well, that's a decision that we will take.
Are you waiting for your speaker to return before you come in?
No.
Are you worried that you will not get justice under Joe Wise's speakership?
So I know someone will say, oh, but I should have been there, because if they are 137, you are 137, it will be lost. Mm-hmm. You saw me and Professor Quay. Mm-hmm. I was up. In fact, I had to angrily put the mic on, and he still refused to see me. Mm-hmm. So if you go in, right, and then he put the voice, and he refuses to see anybody from the minority, you will have legitimized their action, because you will have been in the chamber when that vote was done, and the speaker says he was blind. He didn't see anybody rising to call for a head count. So that's the reason why that possibility could be lost, because you could be in the chamber, 137, that you could say when it tie, it's a loss, but because he will start with a voice vote, the speaker can go blind immediately after he puts the voice vote, and then he will not see anybody, and then it elapses. And then you will have been present, and your presence will have legitimized. So our absence simply means, let's see how they will deal with it. And then let's see what precedent are they setting. So now, all of them will have to be in the chamber every day, all the time.
Are you not planning to see a shutdown of the government to embarrass?
No, not at all. Because today,
the MPP, when is the government of Ghana that will be embarrassed?
When we went for the meeting, in fact, I suggested to them, as those in government, your concentration should be more about trying to get government to run than talking about ego and being legalistic. And I told them, one of the neatest way to do this is that take this suggestion that we are coming, accept the e-levy, put it as amendment to the bill, place it on the bill, come and relay. You simply relay, and then you have consensus, we approve it. Then you can carry on with your decision. At least a government will continue. You have a budget to continue.
They said no to that?
No. They just want to change the decision that the budget was rejected. Okay. So now you are 137. You say 137 couldn't reject it. Let's see how 137 can raise it. Even though we claim, we are arguing, the vote and proceedings and the records of this House is showing on Friday, 274 of us were here and present, and the decision was rejected. How, let's see, tomorrow, your vote and proceeding, that shows that only 137 of you were on the floor, and yet you were able to change this. I know these are people with the greatest of them who do not respect our laws. They do things based on their whims and caprices. But posterity is what is going to judge us. And I can bet you that they've set themselves a big trap. The next 3-4 years, this will come and play again and again and again and again at them. Because they should remember, they are in government. We are in opposition. Ours is to help government to be able to run. But they cannot just walk over us and show gross disrespect to Speaker and gross disrespect to all of us and expect that they will do that. And because we are afraid of them, they will still call us and drag us because they have put rope around our neck. No, that will not happen.
Honorable Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, thank you for joining us on Face to Face.
You're always welcome.
And my name is Umaru Sanda. My guest is the Chief Whip in Parliament on the minority side. Please keep watching City TV. It's your world.